On November 23, 2015, an article from Variety was posted online that drew millions of people into its title, Hey Arnold TV movie in the works as Nickelodeon aims to revive classic shows. For many, it was an absolute dream come true, especially about what the TV movie was going to be about. But I'm getting way ahead of myself. Let's start at the beginning. Hey Arnold, a beloved classic Nicktoon from the 90s about a boy with a football-shaped head named Arnold who lives his everyday life with his family and friends by going to school, playing sports, and having various adventures in the city. While this concept sounds pretty simple, the way it was executed was top-notch. The characters were diverse and fully developed, the city was varied and memorable, and the lessons were deep and relatable. I already did an entire video on that if you're interested in finding out more on that subject. Despite being over 20 years old, it's still relevant in the hearts and minds of the people who grew up with it. But now, a brand new generation of kids have been watching the reruns of the 90s or all that and the Splat, as well as being introduced to it by their older siblings, friends, or even by their parents. Hey, it's possible at this point in time. With that said, there's a piece of the story that was missing in the mythos. At the end of the final episode, The Journal, Arnold is outside of the boarding house reading his father's journal when he finds the last 2 pages stuck together.
A map! It must be the route my parents took on their last trip to the jungle. Grandma! Grandpa! You have to see this! I found a map!
And that was the end. That was what we were left with. An ending with no conclusion. But that wasn't always the case. It was supposed to happen, but because of a chain of events, it was cancelled and left in the wayside, hoping that it would be forgotten like a lot of other shows that never got to finish their story. However, the true heroes, the fans, you, wouldn't let Nickelodeon win so easily. But how did this happen? Well, sit back and relax as we go over the long history of Hey Arnold, the Jungle Movie. One of the first interviews that brought up the Jungle Movie was done by Kim Burke of the unofficial Hey Arnold website on November 4th, 1998. She asked Craig Bartlett various questions from Oscar's origins to why Helga has to hide her secret from Arnold. Then asking about how far the movie is coming along, Craig mentions that he and Hey Arnold writer Steve Vixton have been busy writing the movie as well as a TV movie and a season's worth of episodes. In November 1998, they would have been writing episodes for season 4. They weren't ready on what to say what the movie was about, but they were hoping that it would be out by 2001. When asking about how long was Hey Arnold going to be airing new episodes, Craig stated that he hopes that Nickelodeon would allow them to have a 5th season, and possibly work on some TV specials that would lead up to the 2 movies. Kim also asks the question on when Arnold's last name would be mentioned. Craig answers her by saying that Nickelodeon wanted an episode that would have revealed on what his last name was, but he felt that it would have been too anticlimactic, and he didn't know how to dedicate a whole episode to that. He said that he might reveal it in the last episode of the series. On March 17, 2000, a guy named Mega Wacky Max on the fan website GeraldField.com interviewed Craig Bartlett, including some about the upcoming movie, where he was quoted saying that they were working on the second draft and waiting for Paramount's response for a green light on the project. When asking about if Arnold's last name was going to be a mention in the movie, Craig said that he didn't think so. There's also the question about characters such as Pigeon Man and Stoop Kid appearing, as well as if the characters would ever be in the 5th grade. Craig stated that Pigeon Man and Stoop Kid would be in the movie, and that the characters would always be in the 4th grade, similar to how Charlie Brown was always a little kid. In this interview, there's also the first mentions of the spin-off series The Patakis, which would have taken place years after Hey Arnold, focusing on a teenage Helga, and more insights on her and her dysfunctional family. On April 21st, 2000, there was a chat held on the website heyarnold.madcap.com and was edited by Kim Burke. Craig Bartlett was answering questions from the fans about Hey Arnold, including one on the Pataki spin-off series. Craig gives more details on the spin-off series, such as Arnold moving away to another city, characters that would be returning to the show such as Phoebe and Dr. Bliss from Helga on the Couch, Olga moving back with her parents after graduating from college and wanting to become an actress, and even a possible episode where Helga runs away to find Arnold. There was even a question by Cat Helga on whether Lila would be in the Patakis. Craig answers no, but she and Arnold would be through in episode 100. Which unfortunately wouldn't be the case since Arnold still has a crush on her in a later episode in season 5, Timberly Loves Arnold. But when looking at some of the comments about Lila, even in the year 2000, nobody liked her. Then we get more details about Arnold Saves the Neighborhood, with the plot of the neighborhood being torn down, Arnold and Gerald working together to stop them, everyone being in the film, and even Helga getting a big role, such as confessing her love to Arnold. Craig hopes that it would be an awesome scene. I'll get to that in a moment. As for where the movies were at that point, Craig said that the TV movie was in its storyboarding phase and the theatrical movie was in its writing phase. Another question from a fan was said if the movie's soundtrack would be available, and what would it be. Craig wasn't sure yet, but he said that he would work with Jim Lang, the show's composer, to do an Afro-Cuban soundtrack. Around the year 2000, Nick.com held a chat with Craig Bartlett, and the fans were asking him various questions about the show. A question by a person named Juliak was stating on what happened to Arnold's parents. Craig wonders if Juliak had seen the episode Parents' Day, and then stated that the TV special introduces Arnold's parents and how they disappeared. But the movie will continue the story. As for Arnold's last name, he brought up the fact that it had since become an inside joke, and that he never intended on giving him a last name. But because so many people had been asking him that question, he would add that into the movie and move on. Speaking of inside joke, in another interview with Craig Bartlett by Almi Rose in apocalypstic.com in January 2014, Craig had mentioned that the whereabouts of Arnold's parents was a bit of an inside joke, simply stating that they were off in Africa or something doing documentaries. But as time went on, the idea grew more and more, and wrote the episode Parents' Day to answer the question that fans wanted to know. The parents were voiced by Craig Bartlett as Miles, Arnold's dad, and Parents' Day co-writer Antoinette Stella, whom Arnold's mom was named after and voiced as. You can definitely tell that Craig wasn't 100% sure on how to write Arnold's parents, because we actually do get to see them in season 1. In the episode Arnold's Hat, we see two people giving Arnold his hat when he was a baby, and those people are Arnold's parents. And they look very, very similar to the Arnold claymation short titled Arnold Escapes from Church. Another question from Gummy1197 asks on whether Stoop Kid would appear in another episode. Craig says that Stoop Kid has appeared in other episodes, such as a cameo in the episode Cool Party, but Stoop Kid would appear in the upcoming TV movie called Arnold Saves the Neighborhood, which was slated for release in spring 2001 as the show's 100th episode. It's uncertain on when this chat took place since there's no date on it anywhere, but since there were mentions of Parents' Day, it had to have come out after May 2000 around season 5, since that's when the episode premiered. Which was very strange since this episode was originally created around season 3, but for some reason Nickelodeon withheld it from releasing it for a whole year. You can definitely tell because Arnold's voice actor is credited as Philip Van Dyke, while seasons 4 and 5 had Spencer Klein providing the voice for Arnold. This will be the last episode of the series to use the traditional cel-shaded animation right before switching over to do it on digital ink and paint. Now, going back to our previous discussion, Craig brought up that Arnold Saves the Neighborhood would have been the 100th episode. By using Parents' Day as a set piece, Hey Arnold would have aired over 80 episodes, so it was pretty close. Also, while not related to anything, a question from Nicktoon Lover said about how Arnold got Abner. Craig stated that he got him from an animal shelter. Which, I don't know. I mean, how many pigs do you get from an animal shelter in the city? I'm glad that Abner's backstory was changed in the journal 4 years later, when he was actually given as a gift from the Green-Eyed People. Unfortunately for Craig, the new millennium started very rough for him, and it was not due to his end, but the company that he was producing his work for. During the year 2000, the Patakis was rejected from Nick at Night, since Nickelodeon claimed that it was too dark and depressing for kids. Since Teen Nick didn't exist until a year later, Craig then pitched it to MTV, but it was also rejected because they felt it was too similar to a show that they aired previously called Daria. A few months after his chat interviews, the next Nickelodeon movie, Rugrats in Paris the movie, was released, and it made over $100 million in the box office, as well as getting positive reviews from critics and viewers. Back then, Rugrats was the most popular Nicktoon of all time. The previous movie, the Rugrats movie, made over $140 million in the box office, and it was the first animated movie that was not done by Disney to make that kind of money. It probably didn't help much that the other animated studios such as DreamWorks and Pixar were also making millions of dollars. Pixar released Monsters Inc. and DreamWorks released Shrek, both of which became hugely successful. Even Nickelodeon's next animated movie, Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius, made over $100 million and was even nominated in the Academy Awards for Best Animated Feature alongside the two previous movies. So I'm sure that put Paramount and Nickelodeon into a corner to push themselves to keep up with the competition. With that said, the executives told Craig to make a switch to having Hey Arnold Saves the Neighborhood being the theatrical movie instead. At that point, the theatrical movie was on its 7th draft, and another Hey Arnold writer, Jonathan Greenberg, was brought in to help. As for the TV movie, it was almost complete. So on December 7th, 2001, the actual theatrical movie was put on hold, and the team was given a $3 million budget to convert it from a TV movie to a theatrical one. Even Jim Lang gave up his entire paycheck to pay for a big orchestra to help compose the soundtrack, according to a 2014 interview with Monique on ColorWebMag.com. Meanwhile, in the 2002 Nickelodeon Kids' Choice Awards, the first trailer to Hey Arnold the movie was shown to the public. Before the movie's release, Craig participated in another chat at Nick.com, answering questions about the movie. Reading through the chat, everyone was really excited and anticipating on seeing one of their favorite cartoons on the big screen. Nickelodeon had a lot of confidence for Hey Arnold the movie's success, that they did a huge advertising push on it, spending over $13 million on it, almost 4 times the budget that they gave for Hey Arnold the movie. I remember seeing the commercials all the time, including one about a group of kids in the backyard who reenacted a scene from the movie.
Nickelodeon presents the Hey Arnold Backyard Players in Scenes from Hey Arnold the Movie. Sort of.
Welcome back to my backyard. Perhaps the most exciting moment of the new Hey Arnold movie occurs in Act 3, as Arnold, Gerald, and Helga race to save their neighborhood in a speeding runaway bus. They're forced to drive themselves. We join the scene already in progress. Gerald, you'll have to drive the bus. Me? Are you crazy? You can do it. I know you can.
Get on the floor. You too, Helga.
The floor, why?
Because I'm driving the bus, okay?
And because I'm 9 years old, I can't reach the pedal. Do it!
And cut.
Ah! This sure is a great movie!
While I never saw the movie in theaters, I did watch the VHS tape when it first came out. And, well, it was pretty mediocre. Overall, the movie was considered to be a critical and financial flop in the box office, only making $15 million worldwide, and having mixed to negative reviews from the critics and fans who loved the show. I remember when I first saw it, it was one of the most disappointing movies that I had ever seen. Being a massive fan of Hey Arnold as a kid, seeing the commercials hyping up the movie, and being a part of the Nick.com page alongside other Hey Arnold fans who loved the show as much as I did, seeing the movie was such a massive letdown. But had I known about the true story, I would have been a lot more understanding. But it wasn't like I could go online and read about the behind-the-scenes stories and what Nickelodeon did. The internet was pretty limited back then. In an interview with Arumeha from the Arumeha Show, Craig said that one of the reasons why the movie didn't do so well was because it was released shortly after Lilo and Stitch and the live-action Scooby-Doo movie in the first week. In the second week, it did even worse, losing out to Men in Black 2. So with Hey Arnold the movie not meeting up to Nickelodeon's expectations, especially since the last 3 animated movies made over $100 million, they ceased production on the actual theatrical movie that was supposed to be the conclusion of the series, and Craig and his crew wrapped up the last season of the series. After that, Craig wanted to work on Cartoon Network and pitch an idea for a possible TV series. However, Nickelodeon wanted to put Craig on an exclusive contract where he had to work only for Nickelodeon and nowhere else. Craig disagreed and left Nickelodeon behind him. With everything that had happened to him, I don't blame him. Nickelodeon screwed him over multiple times, canceling projects that deserved to have been picked up. But because Nickelodeon got a bit too greedy for their own good, it inadvertently started a spark that they didn't know that they'd cause. But more on that later. During that time, Craig was working at Cartoon Network as a writer and story editor for Johnny Bravo, with episodes such as Traffic Troubles, Win an El Toro Guapo, It's a Magical Life, and A Page Right Out of History. He was also working on a pilot titled Party Wagon. A few months later, on November of that same year, a chat interview done by a few people at heyarnold.madpage.com talked about what would have been one of the first times that the name of the movie was mentioned, The Jungle Movie. It was also one of the first times we know a little bit about what the plot was. Arnold had won an essay contest in school, and he chooses to go over to San Lorenzo to find his missing parents. With that, his whole class and Principal Wards go along for the trip. A person known as Golden Noses asked if there were going to be any new characters. Craig talked about the villain La Sombra, who was featured in the journal, and Eduardo, a friend of Arnold's parents who was first introduced in Parents' Day and later on in the journal. As for the other characters, Craig talked about that he was going to give the other characters their own scenes, which he wasn't able to do in Hey Arnold the movie. Some examples he stated were featuring Rhonda and Nadine, Harold, Stinky, and Sid, Eugene being allergic to everything and almost being attacked by piranhas, and Helga throwing Brainy overboard. Speaking of which, he talked about Brainy and how the Jungle movie was going to have the greatest Brainy scene ever, but he couldn't say any more than that. Craig also stated that if enough people watched the Journal episode, then the kids can go to Nick.com and demand for Nickelodeon to release the Jungle movie. If it could happen to Rugrats, then why not Hey Arnold? One of the people known as Rhonda W. Lloyd asked Craig if it could be possible to release it as a book, but Craig stated that due to Nickelodeon owning the script, there was nothing he could do. It was in their hands, and if they were interested in seeing more Arnold, then they would call him. After that, a person known as Invader Craig asked Craig about Party Wagon. He was still working on it with a release date of next November. However, the release of Party Wagon wouldn't be until another 2 years later, on February 27, 2004. Party Wagon stars a city-raised teenager named Randall P. McDuff, who ran away from his shotgun wedding at Kennebunk, Maine, and meets up with a group of colorful characters such as an old man named Bumpy Snitz, his Shakespearean-quoting daughter named Ornery Sue, a cowgirl named Sublimity Jill, a good-looking ladies' man named Romeo Jones, and his companion Lewis Clark Jefferson, who is very good at fixing things. While crossing the ferry from the Missouri River, they meet up with an old man named Three-Eyed Jack. He then tells them about a mine of jewels and diamonds in Seattle called El Glitterado, and he shows them a map to the location. But the ferry traveled too far from the river and is heading towards a waterfall. While holding on for dear life, Three-Eyed Jack and his horse fell from the ferry and ended up at the waterfall, where the group presumed him dead. Randall was able to get a hold of the map, and it was torn to pieces with each member of the group having a piece. Along the way, they meet up with a wagon train led by an assertive and by-the-books leader, his wife, his 3 daughters, 2 nephews, and a group of men. The leader refused to let them join at first, but because the wife and 3 daughters were starting to smit on Romeo, they convinced the leader to let him join. So together, they go through the Oregon Trail towards Seattle, while encountering many dangers ahead, and even meet up with orphan brothers named Billy and Toad. One day after Party Wagon aired on Cartoon Network, Craig was interviewed again by the members of HeyArnold.madpage.com about Party Wagon. He even talked about writing an episode where it took place years later, and Randall saw Billy at a debutante ball and wonders who was that pretty girl. Yeah, spoilers, Billy is actually disguising herself as a boy. He even talked about another pilot he was planning to pitch to Cartoon Network called Lenny and Nate. It was about 2 friends named Lenny and Nate who go through crazy adventures in middle school. Nate is a normal kid who comes from a large and noisy family, and his best friend Dirk dumps him after he starts going to high school. Then a new family moves in, including a kid named Lenny, who's described as the weird kid who claims to be from another planet. There's also Dirk's sister Ronnie, who has a huge crush on Nate, but Lenny has a huge crush on her, making it an odd love triangle. Not a lot of new information regarding about the Jungle movie, except on how Arnold's last name would be revealed. There will be a scene early in the movie where Arnold receives a package from Harvey and he would sign his full name. 1 month later, on March 24, 2004, Craig was interviewed in a Cartoon Network fan site discussing more details about Party Wagon and the Jungle movie. For Party Wagon, he gave a more detailed explanation on the rumors that Party Wagon was originally supposed to be airing on Adult Swim. Apparently, when he first pitched the pilot to Cartoon Network, Linda Zemensky, a former executive at Nickelodeon and then development executive for Cartoon Network, as well as Mike Laszlo, the head of programming, had both left. Linda would eventually become the head of children's programming for PBS, and Mike would be the head of Adult Swim. During the development, Craig was told by Mike that the Adult Swim shows were going to have flash animation budgets. In order for Party Wagon to be fully animated, it had to be for all ages. He wasn't upset about this because the time slot of 8 p.m. was chosen to air the pilot as opposed to 11 p.m. Meanwhile, on more information on the Jungle movie, Craig talked about the third and final big subplot that he wanted to cover. Helga's confessing her love to Arnold, and both of them talking it over, which would eventually lead up to them taking their relationship to the next level. When answering a question on other projects he was working on, Craig stated that he was writing another pilot with Hey Arnold writer Joseph Purdy for Spike TV called Hellville. It was a comedy that was set in both heaven and hell. This is really interesting since his two previous pilots that he was working on at the time sounded like something that he would create, but something for Spike TV, which would have been for adults, doesn't. Now, it wasn't said in the interview if it would have been live action or animated, but considering that Spike TV was in an experimental phase of creating animated shows for adults such as Ren and Stimpy Adult Party Cartoon and Gary the Rat, it most likely would have been animated. The animated show Stripperella was still on the air until it was canceled a few days later on April 1st, 2004. The Party Wagon pilot only aired twice on Cartoon Network and was never aired again. It was eventually scrapped and was never picked up as a TV series. It wouldn't be shown into the public until 8 years later in 2012 when it was eventually uploaded on YouTube. As for Lenny and Nate or Hellville, it seemed to have not gotten any further than the pitch, since as of the time of this recording there's no concept art, pictures, or animation on either of the pilots. So with a total of 5 projects being cancelled in the course of 4 years by 3 different animation companies, it must have been a creative stab on Craig's end. So, moving on to a few years later, on October 7, 2006, the 10-year anniversary of Hey Arnold's debut on Nickelodeon, Craig was on an interview chat with the site geocities.com/HeyArnoldForever in a chat room called Arnold's Room. One of the questions asked by Sketchpad73 was what Craig had been up to. He said that he had been working on a lot of things, including writing movie scripts with Joseph Purdy. One of them was a movie for NASA that would be a film and sim ride where a shuttle was being launched into orbit with a release date for next spring over at the Kennedy Space Center at Cape Canaveral. He was also writing scripts and story bibles for other people's projects. Throughout the chat, everyone was talking about how Nickelodeon had turned for the worse and had become an evil network. Yeah, just wait a few years. Craig rebukes this by letting the chat know that Hey Arnold had a good run compared to most of the cartoons that had aired at the time, with a lot of opportunities to have creative control, unlike most of the jobs he had been offered after the show's run. At this point in 2008, he had just started working for the Jim Henson Company, and he would be there for a few years working on projects such as co-writing a movie called 3 Pigs and a Baby alongside Joseph Purdy, and being the writer and story editor for a preschool show called Sid the Science Kid. Around December 2009, he was interviewed by Monique from ColorWebMag.com talking about his brand new PBS show, Dinosaur Train, as well as Party Wagon and Hey Arnold. When asking about how he felt that the fan base was still determined to see the Jungle movie and the Patakis possibly happening, Craig stated that while he appreciated the fans, he had pretty much given up on the chance that Nickelodeon would ever let him have a chance to do the Jungle movie. The show had been canceled 5 years prior, and Hey Arnold was 13 years old. He felt it was kind of too late to push the possibility of bringing back Hey Arnold. We will now cover another part of the story that's just as important to get to the main core of the Jungle movie: the fans. During the year 2009, there was a small dedicated fan base that wanted to see more love from Hey Arnold that Nickelodeon wasn't giving. They did things like drawing fan art, writing fan fiction on how they imagined that the Jungle movie would be, and signing petitions to send over to Nickelodeon to release the Jungle movie. But this would be the first step towards a bigger movement from the Hey Arnold fan community, with the debut of the dedicated Hey Arnold fan webpage, Project Operation Ruthless. Founded by 2 people known as Lyco and Broken Rose 24 on August 14, 2010, Operation Ruthless's main goal was to get the Jungle movie released and have Arnold's story come to a satisfying close. Also along the way, they added in the goal of having the Patakis greenlit as well. On April 2011, the Facebook group Hey Arnold Save the Jungle Movie 100,000 People was created. The individual fans who were trying to get the Jungle movie released, or even so much as the people who grew up with Hey Arnold when they were kids, joined the group and helped with the cause. There were some who doubted that this would ever happen, but most of them would not give up on the chance of seeing Arnold's story come to a close. In fact, 2011 was a big year for Hey Arnold fans. On May 9th, the home video and music company Shout Factory had acquired the rights to release Hey Arnold on DVD, starting with the first season on August 9th. On July 1st, Operation Ruthless started their very first petition with a goal of 15,000 signatures. They also posted other options such as mailing letters to the Nickelodeon headquarters in New York and California, making response videos posting on Nickelodeon's Facebook page, and posting to Viacom's Facebook and Twitter pages. On July 2011, a new programming blog aired on T-Nick called The 90s Are All That, where they would air classic 90s Nickelodeon shows from midnight to 4 a.m. On August 24th, 2011, Hey Arnold, as well as Rocko's Modern Life, was announced to replace Clarissa Explains It All and Doug in their time slots, starting on Labor Day weekend. This will be the chance to spread the word to everyone to watch Hey Arnold around these late times, so that the ratings would climb up and show Nickelodeon that there was still a fan base to this late 90s Nicktoon, and that they wanted to see the Jungle movie. A few weeks prior, on August 3rd, Hey Arnold concept artist Roger Luan recently shut down his website, and with it, concept art for the Jungle movie was shown to the public, making it one of the first times any art of the Jungle movie was seen by anyone other than the people who are working on it. It featured pictures of Arnold and his classmates surrounded by La Sombra and his men holding machetes, Arnold, Gerald, and Helga helping La Sombra from falling off of a broken bridge while holding an ancient green artifact, Harold, Stinky, and Sid running away from a wild monkey, the temple surrounded by lava where Arnold was born, and a lavish mansion. On October 2011, the first podcast interview with Craig Bartlett occurred with the host, Arun Meha from the Arun Meha Show. It was the first interview that Craig did in almost 2 years.
I tell you what, in regards to the Jungle movie, I really want to put this suggestion to you. If La Sombra was in the movie, I'd want Danny Trejo to play him. You know, the guy who plays Machete Cortez in Machete and plays other bad guys as well. He would be awesome for that role. If I ever get a chance to email you a resume of all the evil things that he's done on film, you'd have to put him in there as the bad guy. I think a lot of people disagree with me, but it's. That's the one guy I'd love to see in that film, because I'd be like, oh my god, that's so awesome. Yeah.
Around Thanksgiving, the time slot began to shift towards showcasing more Nicktoons, including Rugrats, which had aired on Mondays and Thursdays, and Hey Arnold, which had aired on Tuesdays and Saturdays. It had this time slot for a limited time until they added more shows to the lineup, such as All That. The fan base continued to grow more and more with subsequent reruns of Hey Arnold, including those who weren't born when Hey Arnold first aired. On February 12, 2012, a small clip from the Jungle movie was uploaded on Vimeo by Brent Forrest. It shows a more detailed scene where Miles and Stella are chasing La Sombra, who had stolen La Corazon, on horses.
It's La Sombra, all right!
And it looks like he's got the Corazon! Yeah!
Yeah!
Yeah! Yeah! Okay, Buster. Hand it over.
Have to kill me first! Whoa. Sorry.
Just recently, when a person asked Craig Bartlett about it, he said that it was an animation test from 2001. However, that scene was no longer going to be in the newest draft of the Jungle movie. On July 2012, Raimi Musquiz, an animation director for Hey Arnold, had launched his official website, which included a 53-page storyboard scene from the Jungle movie. In that scene, Arnold was taken by La Sombra and his henchmen. He was then interrogated to reveal on where the hidden city of the Green-Eyed People was.
Oh, come now, Arnold, old friend. We've worked so well together. Where is the hidden city? Tell me everything.
I don't know! It's all just a story my grandpa told me!
Oh, listen, mijo. I've been been searching for a corazon for a long time, and I did not kidnap a boatload of whining, pampered American school children only to be thwarted now! Mio! Come, think back. Some childhood memory, some little clue.
Look! If I knew where the hidden city was, don't you think I'd find my parents?
Did he tell you where? Stupid. He knows nothing. Only want to scare him bad enough so he'll do what I want. Now, put him in the storeroom. Maybe a night's rest will refresh your memory. Let's hope it does. I would hate to have to lose my temper and hurt your friends. Accidentally, of course.
Buenos noches.
Again, similar to the video clip, Craig Bartlett stated that the scenes shown in the storyboard were no longer going to be in the newest draft of the Jungle movie. Together with Joseph Purdy, they were planning on writing the Jungle movie script from scratch, with a few elements borrowed from the previous drafts. There were more interviews that happened throughout that year, such as a video interview with Craig Bartlett done by Nicole Dodana on YouTube, and a follow-up interview by Arumeha. On November 24th, and on the second week of January 2013, there were 2 Hey Arnold marathons on the 90s Are All That. Operation Ruthless took that opportunity with a trendathon to spread the word on Hey Arnold. On April 22nd, 2013, a woman known as Last Minute Lady wrote a letter to food personality and morning talk show host Rachel Ray that the show Hey Arnold left a huge impact on her 8-year-old son by wanting to draw, thanks to watching reruns of Hey Arnold on Netflix. He had gone through a head trauma, and he found happiness with expressing himself with drawing Hey Arnold characters. He talked to his mom about the show, Craig Bartlett, and Craig writing the script on the Jungle movie before Nickelodeon canceled it. After being intrigued on her son's knowledge of the show and the interest of the Jungle movie, she did a little bit of research online and found that there was a strong fan base who wanted to see the Jungle movie greenlit as much as her son. She eventually found Craig Bartlett's contact information and wrote a letter to him and shared her son's drawings. Weeks later, Craig responded back with a drawing of Arnold with a note saying thank you for the letter and the drawings, as well as being a big fan of the show. Going back to the online fan base, on May 26, 2013, Operation Ruthless had reached their goal of 15,000 signatures on their Jungle movie petition, and on August 17th, they posted a video on their YouTube channel. They printed everything from charts, letters, names, and Hey Arnold fan art. They boxed it together and sent it to Nickelodeon to show them that Hey Arnold still had a strong fan base. Later on, they would do another petition for 30,000 signatures. There were even a group of people who were spending time with Craig in an event called the SoCal event on June 29th, organized by Jay Medina. They played games such as Who/What Am I, and sung songs from the Beatles to Hey Arnold songs such as We Got Tomorrow and The Simple Things. There were also other events that occurred such as karaoke and a Hey Arnold quiz show. The people who attended the SoCal event claimed that they had a great time spending it with a person who left a massive impact on their childhood. Things started to look very bright when on July 2013 at San Diego Comic-Con, Craig Bartlett was in a panel with the Adventures of Pete and Pete creators Will McRobb and Chris Viscardi, Sanjay and Craig creators Jay Howell and Jim Dershberger, and Breadwinners creators Steve Boers and Gary Doodles, moderated by Chris Hardwick from the Nerdist podcast, and who was the voice of Craig in Sanjay and Craig. He announced that he was going to be working for Nickelodeon again on a new cartoon called Sky Rat. The cartoon was about a rat who suffered from amnesia and is rescued by a group of pigeons. He then dreams of flying in the sky like the pigeons do. The announcement spread like wildfire and had gotten the Hey Arnold fanbase really excited. Apparently, it was partly due to Nickelodeon president Seema Saragami receiving a lot of letters from Hey Arnold fans. Now that Craig was back working on Nickelodeon again, then the chances of seeing the Jungle movie greenlit were even higher than ever. There were other interviews that Craig participated, such as a third podcast interview by Arun, a Tumblr interview done by a user named Jazim, and even Kevin and myself as a guest for casual chats. I just have to say, Craig, that when I wrote you that letter 10 years ago, wanting to see the Jungle movie release, I never knew that one day we would actually be talking together.
That's good. I know, life is long, what can I say?
Exactly. In 2014, it was a bit up and down for Hey Arnold fans. On the upside, on August 19th, the complete series of Hey Arnold was released by Shout Factory as a Walmart exclusive. With that announcement, fans clamored to purchase the DVDs to not only support the official release, but to once again show the people in Nickelodeon that Hey Arnold was still a popular show. I even bought my copy of Hey Arnold on Walmart for around $20, and there weren't a lot of copies left. Not too long afterwards, when heading over to the DVD aisle, all the copies of Hey Arnold were completely sold out. As for the low point that happened that year, on June 23rd, Steve Vixton, the voice of Oscar Kokoschka, as well as a writer on Rugrats and Hey Arnold, had sadly passed away at the age of 54. Many fans left their condolences to Craig's Facebook page, and others posted on social media and how much that he would be missed. 2015 is where things start to shift and change. Going back to Rami Musquez's website, his storyboard drawings on the Jungle movie were removed due to mysterious reasons. On August 5th, when the Nickelodeon Facebook page posted a video on Michelangelo's moments from the Turtles in Time episode, a fan was asking about re-airing episodes of the Angry Beavers. Nickelodeon responded with, "How about a Jungle movie?" with a winking emoji. Various websites and social media pages questioned if Nickelodeon was actually hinting at the Jungle movie, or if it was nothing more than just a joke. After long speculation, we now come to the beginning of the video, with the statement that on November 23rd, it was officially confirmed that Hey Arnold would be releasing a brand new TV movie. Not just any TV movie, but one based off of the Jungle movie. After over 6 years of non-stop determination, the Hey Arnold fan community reaped the fruit of their labors, knowing that their hard work had paid off. New management was hired on Nickelodeon, and big changes for the better were happening. The biggest one being Pete and Pete co-creator Chris Viscardi being named Senior Vice President and Content Development for Nickelodeon's franchise properties, including being an executive producer on the Jungle movie. Throughout the past year, many new concept art, announcements on the new and returning voice actors, the panel at San Diego Comic-Con, and more had flooded the internet with big anticipation. Since then, we had seen more happy returns of classic shows because of dedicated fans. Samurai Jack, SWATcast, Theatrical Squadron, and more recently, Young Justice. While we may be drawing close to our conclusion in this video, this story is far from over. Who knows what lies ahead when the Jungle movie makes its debut next fall? A follow-up movie? A revival to the series? Or maybe even the Pataki spin-off? But whatever it is, the millions of people who pushed Nickelodeon to get the Jungle movie greenlit will stay on Craig's side with his next project. Over 20 or 30 years ago, if a show was canceled, that was it. You had nothing to rely on other than your VHS tapes or reruns on TV. TV companies would move on to the next show, and kids were forced to do the same. But now, thanks to the internet, there's a better chance of having a show or movie come back than ever before. As long as you keep a calm and professional attitude with plenty of patience and consistent posting, it's more possible that it will come back. With the Jungle movie's case, it truly deserved to have come back in a massive way. So, to those who are part of the Operation Ruthless or Save the Jungle movie Facebook page and help spread the word, thank you. To those who supported the official release by buying the DVDs, buying it on iTunes, Amazon, or even watching the shows on TV, Netflix, or Hulu, thank you. To those who signed the petitions and wrote letters to Nickelodeon, thank you. Even to those who were fans of the show, whether it be from the beginning or just recently, thank you. It's because of us, because of you, that we were finally able to see this movie. Sure, it may have taken almost 15 years, but as Abraham Lincoln once quoted, "Nothing valuable can be lost by taking time."
When life gets you down, wearing a frown, don't look away, look up. 'Cause memories true come out of the blue. You know the way, look up. Come on, Arnold.
Grandma, I'm really not in the mood.
When skies are dark gray, things gone astray, don't hide away, look up. Take it.
I had a bad day. Nothing went right. I hate my dumb life. I'm down.
When you're feeling under the weather and the dark clouds are getting to you, make your troubles light as a feather, and soon you'll be seeing a bright patch of blue. You gotta look up, you gotta be strong, you gotta take things as they come. 'Cause everything new that happens to you is better when you look up.
Well, Arnold, what do you say?
One more time, Grandma.
Arnold, you're a pip.